Mercedes are finally starting to find a bit of form this season. In the last 2 races, they've finished 3rd and 4th. Even Lewis Hamilton has managed to string together a couple of big points finishes. Now their aim needs to be to close the gap to Red Bull and Ferrari. But can they do it? Let's see what they have planned. Before we dive in, you need to know that this video was brought to you by Bybit, one of the world's leading crypto exchange platforms. They're giving away a paddock pass to this year's Silverstone Grand Prix. To be in with a chance to win, you just need to click the referral link in the description and deposit at least $10 in your new account. Do this before midnight on Wednesday the 29th of June and you could win this incredible once-in-a-lifetime experience. Good luck! Despite everything that's been going on with Toto Wolff, the FIA bouncing and porpoising, and the new technical directive, the Mercedes drivers have managed to rise above it in the last few weeks. Despite the awful conditions the team subjected them to in Baku, George Russell finished 3rd and Lewis Hamilton finished 4th. Then in Montreal, with all of the controversy surrounding Toto Wolff's argument with the rest of the team bosses and the FIA's technical directive, they managed to shut it out and give a good race, finishing 3rd and 4th again. Even Nico Rosberg has been impressed with how the team have been performing. After the Canadian Grand Prix, he said, "George has done an awesome job. Phenomenal with how difficult that car has been to drive. To be so consistent, driving so well, not making any mistakes, always getting the maximum out of it. He's been brilliant." On Saturday, one would think, okay, keep it safe, bring home another P4 or P5 in qualifying, but no. He said, "I'm going to put my slicks on. I only care about pole position." That's really awesome. This is something that probably hasn't been said enough. George Russell has been performing incredibly well. He's made the step up from Williams to Mercedes look way easier than anyone expected them to. At the moment, in the Drivers' Championship, he's 34 points ahead of Lewis Hamilton, and based on their performances so far this season, I don't expect that gap to get any smaller. Remember that according to Toto Wolff, the car is a box, and Lewis has spent most of the season calling it the worst car he's ever driven. If George is performing this well in the W13, imagine what he could have done in one of Lewis's title-winning cars. The next stop on the calendar is Silverstone, on the 1st to the 3rd of July, and this could be the point where Mercedes really show their speed. Before we talk about their plans for the race, let's talk about the race itself. The British Grand Prix is the home race for Mercedes this season. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell will have the majority of the crown behind them. Lando Norris is loved by the home fans as well, to be fair, but we know that when it comes to Silverstone, Hamilton is the favourite. To be fair to Lewis, he does deserve it in England more than anywhere else. He's won the race 8 times and 7 times in the past 8 years, losing out to Sebastian Vettel in 2018. As a constructor, Mercedes has won their 8 of the last 9 seasons as well. Yeah, we realise that during those periods, Mercedes dominated Formula 1, Hamilton especially, but that kind of momentum means something in sport. It's also a track that will favour Mercedes, something that the team have admitted to. Silverstone was good to us in the past and the circuit is smoother than the last 3 ones, but it's not Barcelona, Toto Wolff said after Montreal. "We should manage our own expectations and just really grind away, look at the data and come up with some sensible solutions, not only for Silverstone but going forwards as well." He might be managing expectations, but you Mercedes fans have reason to be excited. First off, the track is faster than the previous 3. There are more medium and high-speed corners which suit the Mercedes car. Earlier in the season, they were porpoising through high-speed corners, but in Barcelona, that was pretty much sorted. The last thing the drivers want to be doing is bouncing through Copse Corner, where Lewis pushed Max off the track last year in one of the biggest accidents of the season. Secondly, the track should be smoother, which should solve their bottoming out problem as well. So no porpoising and no bouncing, well, hopefully anyway. What that will mean is the team can get their car nice and low to the ground, maximising the performance potential of their car. If the controversial technical directive is allowed to stand and the teams can fit another stay to the edge of their floors to reduce flexing, something that Mercedes' no-pod concept really suffers from, then they could be really fast in Silverstone. Don't count on that stay being legal though. Multiple team bosses have already said they'll protest anyone fitting it, and by the rules, they'll have every right to do so. Before we tell you about how Mercedes are going to help Hamilton for the rest of the season, have you gone and clicked that referral link yet? Viewing the British Grand Prix from above the pit lane is an experience like no other, and you can only do it with a paddock pass. Thank you again to Bybit for letting us help you guys win the experience of a lifetime. There is news about some upgrades that Mercedes will be allowed to fit though, both in Silverstone and looking ahead for the rest of the season. Let's talk about what the Silverstone plan is to start though. Mercedes have been very experimental in the last few races with their free practice setups, and it's been having an effect on Hamilton's confidence. Hamilton is a driver who needs confidence in his car to perform and has asked the team to address their experimental nature of their Friday run plans. He told Sky Sports, "We're just trying to work. We're just trying to progress as a team. Moving forward, I think we'll be a little more cautious on doing too many experiments, as it really does hinder you through the weekend, especially if you only have practice 1 and 2 in the dry and don't get an FP3 for example." Well, the good news for Hamilton is that the team will hopefully be able to be less experimental and more precise with their upgrades in Silverstone. They think they've found some promising directions to upgrade in. In previous races, they've been guessing at what might work and then testing it out on the Friday. This has the advantage of gathering a lot of data and potentially opening avenues for research that they would not have otherwise found. But it seems they're now ready to move past that stage of their development plan. We don't have the exact details on what Mercedes are going to be upgrading yet, unfortunately. But technical director Mike Elliott spoke about what they learnt at the Montreal circuit and how it will help guide their development plan this season. I think from my point of view, what's really nice is to see a bit more pace from the car on Sunday, Elliott said. Also, to find some direction. I think we're starting to understand our issues, we're starting to make strides forward. But we are very realistic. We've got our feet properly on the ground and we know we've got to work really hard from here. We've got to turn that understanding into parts that we can bring to make the car go quicker, and we are trying to do that as quickly as we can. It's really interesting hearing the tone of Mercedes' messages change as the season has gone on. In pre-season practice, they were exclaiming that the team would have the fastest car on the grid. Lewis Hamilton said, "My team don't make mistakes," and the no-pod side-pod concept was meant to bring an extra second of lap time, which never really materialized. Toto Wolff has spoken about how this season has been humbling for the team and has grounded them more than they were at the start of the season. I just thought it was interesting seeing that change in language of their media statements as well. The team seemed to be targeting Silverstone as their first real step towards catching the front two teams. The other upgrades they've made this season haven't made a huge difference in the gap to the Ferrari and Red Bull. There hasn't been a race yet where they've been able to legitimately challenge them on track. Is Silverstone going to be the race where that changes? Personally, I don't think so. I think the deficit is too big to be overturned in one go. But with how bad the reliability of the Red Bull and Ferrari have been this season, they could have a shot at a podium with a bit of luck. What do you think of their chances in Silverstone? What about going forward in the season then? Well, this is where Mercedes' poor performance will actually help them. The aerodynamic testing restrictions, or ATR, switch for the second half of the year, based on the team's Constructors' Championship positions after the Canadian Grand Prix. Basically, each team is given a certain amount of wind tunnel time based on how well they're doing. Because Mercedes won the Constructors' Championship last year, they've had the least amount of time during the off-season and during the first half of this season. After Canada though, they were third in the Constructors' standings, meaning they'll get more wind tunnel time in the second half of the season. They had 70% of the agreed limit of 320 runs, meaning they could only use the wind tunnel 224 times in the past 6 months, compared to a limit of 368 for Haas, who finished last in the Constructors' Championship and got 115% of the run limit. In the second half of the season, Mercedes will get 80% of the agreed limit instead for a total of 256 runs, or an extra 32 goes in the wind tunnel. They'll also get an extra 200 computational fluid dynamic test items. How big a change is this? Well, it's pretty huge to be honest. They've gone from having the least available time to having more than Ferrari and Red Bull. In theory, this means they should be able to make more progress than those two teams. Obviously, there isn't a direct correlation between testing time and lap time gained. It isn't that simple, but it will definitely help. Mercedes seem to be turning their season around at the moment. Let's be realistic, they aren't fighting for a championship, but they should be able to comfortably secure third place and give themselves a great platform to build on for the future. Where do you see Mercedes' season going from here? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section, and till we see you next time, drive safe and bye bye.